And welcome back to another episode, a special episode today of the MDCP, our Million Dollar Coach Program podcast. Joined today with special guest, Mr. Justin Rodriguez. How are you, Justin?
I'm doing good. I just got my
That's
workout
good.
done, so I'm still a little red in the face, but we're doing okay. We're
Well,
doing good.
what was your weapon of choice today? Your poison today?
Oh, today was it was kind of a Murph recovery for our box because we had some people do it Saturday, some people do it Monday. So today was a rower, wall ball rower, alternating dumbbell snatch workout, little partner workout. So there's some built-in rest, some high intensity if you wanted it to be, but it was a good one. After round one, I didn't want to do rounds 2 and 3, but we got through it.
I'm not feeling like wall balls are too much of a recovery from Murph, but cool.
Yeah.
There's no one signing up for that today.
Yeah.
But you very generously replied to a reach out. I had sent some of our followers on Instagram a message just saying, hey, thanks for your support. Is there anything you want to hear about, anything that you want to talk about? And you sent back a great reply. And I was like, great, let's get on and have a chat. So why don't you just give me a little bit of your backstory about, where you're at? I know you're at CrossFit Greenville in North Carolina, but how you found CrossFit, how long you've been CrossFitting, and sort of what then led you to becoming a coach.
Well, my journey to CrossFit, it came at a really good time. I was active duty military. I was in the Marine Corps here, and I got hurt. And so after my career got cut short by an injury, we moved to Greenville, my wife and I, and my family. And I spent a few years here doing the Globo gym, the weightlifting type stuff. I've always been a weightlifter, athletic guy. And I was still trying to rehab my knee and get back into that sort of thing. And I just, I started following the sport of CrossFit. And it just got, social media was blowing up and CrossFit was growing. And so I reached out. We have 2 gyms here in Greenville, my gym, CrossFit Greenville, and then there's another one here. And I reached out to both of them. And my gym owner, Matt, just happened to be the first one that got back to me. And I met him, and he was a really cool guy. And I met one of his other coaches at the time, and I just decided to jump in and did my foundations course. And that was about 2016, I think that was 2016.
Yeah, super cool.
And it really did fill a gap for me because even though I left the military in 2012, joined CrossFit in 2016. But it still hadn't really, even though I'd been here for 4 years, still hadn't really found a community, hadn't found really like close friends. And CrossFit kind of filled that gap that, the military life leaves, because the military is a very close-knit group, lots of friends, very deep culture. And there was a hole after I had to leave. And so when I found CrossFit, it was almost a nice replacement for it. It just started making really, really good friends that I have to this day. Been there for 6-7 years now. And I was just hooked. I really enjoyed the community aspect and the loud music and the group suffering, which is very similar to the military at times. But, after about, almost immediately, I knew I wanted to coach. It was just a matter of putting it all together and finding the time to get to the L1 while also managing being a husband and a father and, all that sort of stuff. And so finally it was 2018 or 2019. The years go by. It seems so fast nowadays. I can't even keep track.
Well, we've got that 3-year gap in the middle from 2020 where everything just turned into a blur.
I think it might have been July of 2020 is when I finally took the leap and I signed up for the L1, and I am fortunate to have a gym owner. His name's Matt Hines. And he is one of those gym owners that says, hey, if you want to do this, I'm willing to help you. And he does, even as a coach now, continuing education. If there's a course we want to go to, he's like, I got half, no problem.
Yep. Great.
He's one of those really, really good owners, very involved. And so he helped me get to the L1 course. And I it was at CrossFit Somnium there in Virginia Beach. And Kristen Bowen was our flow master. Jason Fernandez was an instructor. And Cassidy, whose last name escapes me at the moment, was our other instructor there. And loved it, loved every minute of it. Totally new experience. But from that moment on, I'm one of those people that I can just dive in, and I just have a lot of curiosity, and it just kind of bloomed from there. And since then, I mean, I've been to the gymnastics course, and I just recently got done doing EC's masterclass, or nutrition masterclass that
How
she
good
ran
is
for
that?
coaches.
Yeah.
Awesome, absolutely awesome.
Mhm.
She is the master of making things simple,
Yep.
and it was really cool to get to work with her.
Yep.
Really love that experience, and I still message her back and forth every now and again, and she's gracious enough to reply and acknowledge. But that course was life changing. Absolutely love that course.
I've heard so many good things about that course, and I know both on the Fit Affiliate podcast and this one, we have had a couple of chats with EC, and they've been wildly, popular episodes because she's so relatable and she's so open with the information that she has to share and what she has to offer and contribute. So, really powerful stuff. You said something interesting to me when I was replying to your messages when I said, "Hey, let's jump on the podcast. I think you've got a great story. We can dig a little bit into, you know, the areas that you're passionate about." But you said, "Well, I'm not a full time coach. I don't know that I have much of a story to tell." I'm like, "Oh, dude, you've got a story." And one of the things that you said, that you consider yourself to be a professional coach, but you aren't working full time in the space, which there's a lot of coaches not working full time, 50-hour, coaching, being gym managers and head coaches and stuff. But it's a refreshing perspective that you still view yourself as a professional coach. Where do you think that that sort of came from for you, or what is that, just something organically within you, or something that you set out when you embark on something? You're like, "Well, I'm going to be the best I can be at this."
What I think, just the word professional, um, for me, it really was defined by my
Mhm.
military service.
Mhm.
It's just willing to be the best at something, and I don't know if you can ever be the best at something like being a CrossFit coach. There's a quote that I stole, and I actually had to go back and find it just in preparation. Um, but it's an Ernest Hemingway quote, and it says that we're all apprentices in a craft in which no one ever becomes a master.
Oh,
And
perfect.
I think that applies here.
Mm,
And it professional to me, it's just a state of mind. It's
mm,
willing to put in the effort. It is constant curiosity, constant willing to learn, wanting to be of service to other people. And if you're going to do that, why not be good at it?
mm,
Why sign up to do something like this to just do the bare minimum?
mm,
And so it is something that I believe started with my upbringing and started with the military service.
mhm,
Um, it's a state of mind. It's something that has become a part of me. I
mm,
don't want to be the coach that everyone's like, oh, well, it's his class. I don't want to go to that class. And we don't have any of those in my gym. I'm proud to say
mm,
that we do not have any of those coaches.
mm,
If I can brag on our gym for a minute, but it's just the constant pursuit of excellence.
mm,
It doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't
mm,
mean that you're not going to make mistakes. It doesn't mean you have all the answers. I get asked questions all the time that I don't have the answer to.
mm,
But yeah, when you reached out to me, I was kind of like, look, I'm just an L1. I've seen your guest list from the past. I know that Christina was on level 4, and I know that EC and Pat Barber, and I'm
mm,
just like, who am I amongst these giants? I'm just, I'm 41 years old. I'm a military veteran with a busted knee. I have a passion for CrossFit and coaching and serving others, and I've only been a level 1 for not even 2 years yet. I absolutely plan on going to my level 2 at some point, hopefully this
mm,
year. I'm not going to put that off.
mm.
It's just managing the logistics of it. You know how that goes, and
Yes.
but it's just yeah. There was a part of me that was like, I don't know if I have a whole to offer like those other guests do.
Well, and that's the thing, and we talk about it a lot on this podcast, about, there's a couple of things you touched on there, but, when you say that you're just a level 1, I think that that is really undervaluing and underselling, you know, your contribution. I mean, there are, CrossFit clearly has you L1 up through L4. But just because you have a particular number next to your name doesn't necessarily quantify what sort of a coach you are. Like, there are a lot of coaches who have an L3 that are, horrible coaches on the floor, but they can pass a test.
Yep.
Are they likely to get their L4? Not likely, because that's the actual application of the knowledge. So, can I pass a test? You pass a test, that's great. Whereas there are some brilliant coaches who fail their L3 because test taking is not their thing. They get overwhelmed with it. That's not just how their brain operates. So they kind of get stopped at that. And then they feel like, oh, well, I don't have that number. But I guess it's that, um, as Greg Glassman says, and one of my favorite quotes is that blind and relentless pursuit of excellence and understanding, virtuosity. And once you've mastered the basics, go back and do it again, or once
Yep.
you think you've mastered it. And I think that, the other thing that you're talking about there about, being a professional coach is, and we literally just recorded another episode of the podcast this morning with Sam and Ash, where we talked about, as why are coaches reluctant to seek their own development outside a certification or a level. So to get a coach to coach them. Because, we're quick to tell our clients, like, if you want to compress time, you want to move faster than towards your goals, then get a coach. I'm going to help you there. We one of the examples we gave on the call was, if I wanted to learn to fix, my clean, I could watch Coach B teach it, and then I'd start working on a million different things, and it'll take me months to gradually go through the kitchen list of all the things to work on. Whereas if I stand in front of a coach, they'll be like, okay, why are your feet so wide? I don't know. I just watched it on the video. Okay, well, maybe we could adjust them. That maybe they'll have it. And suddenly I don't need to worry about all these other things that were probably not applicable to me, and I was turning myself inside out by having this external person who's not emotionally attached to the outcome like I am personally, and to go, well, ask better questions. And I think we were debating it, or not debating, but discussing that, we're quick to tell clients that, but then as coaches, they're very slow to invest in development outside of L1, L2, L3, specialty certs, that sort of thing, rather investing in a coaching relationship for themselves, understanding that's going to make them better. And like you were saying, you're constantly trying to learn and grow, and therefore that's how you define yourself as a professional, even though you understand you're not going to be, no one's going to master the craft, no one's going to be the best. But how do I be as best as I can be in this current point in time?
Yeah, and that I've never been averse to seeking out someone to coach me or feedback in general. We have a coach in my gym. His name's Joey, and he's a level 3, and he's kind of a newer member to the gym, but he's really brought a lot to the table. And I seek him out all the time. From the first day he visited the gym, I was, it's like, hey, I'm Coach Justin. If there's ever anything that you see that you can help me with, or that I need help, please come to me and let me know. Our gym owner, Matt, I mentioned him before. He's another one. Like, hey, Matt, if you see me doing something wrong or something doing better, please. And we kind of all have that relationship. At least our team of coaches do, where we can talk to each other. We have a wide range of experience. We're not afraid to seek each other out. And just be like, hey, you were in my class today. Did that feel okay to you? Did that work okay? And there's been numerous times here, even just recently, I still consider myself a young learning coach, and I'll coach a class, and sometimes it just doesn't feel right. You do something and you're like, wow, that really didn't flow the way that I wanted it to. And I'll call one of the other coaches and I'll be like, hey man, today's class did not go very well. Did it go for you earlier in the day when you coach? How did this work for you? How did that work for you? Because it felt like a terrible class to me. And of course, we all try to reassure each other, and they're always like, oh, it wasn't that bad. I'm like, well, actually, I kind of felt like it was. And so I've never been averse to that. I've never been afraid to seek out coaches or help or ask for feedback. That's something that, again, I think that goes back to being a professional. You have to be willing to accept that and not let it hurt your ego or bruise your ego. That's part of growing.
It is, absolutely. And we could definitely do with more of that in the space. Something that, and I guess I'm going to touch back on what you were just saying about being, just a level one, and and something you mentioned in one of our discussions is like going, well, I've got some physical limitations with a busted knee, and I'm not a 20-year-old elite athlete. Like, am I good enough to be a coach? And dealing with that whole imposter syndrome and those limiting self-beliefs. Now, these are things that, I can draw out of people in conversation, but you were very open and put them out there on the forefront. Like you just put it out there in the conversation that we were having. And I thought that was really refreshing because people don't talk about, and we all do, even if you talk to Pat Barber, he'll tell you he's had it and still has it. Like, why do people want to listen to me? And meanwhile, we're watching him talk on a podcast going, oh my God, it's Pat Barber. He's, so how do you overcome that and still not let it hold you back from moving forward to, what you think is important for you and why, being a coach is such a important pillar for you in your life?
Well, I think it comes from my nature to want to serve people.
Mm-hmm.
I did a leadership course as part of my college degree, and um, you do these tests where you find out what kind of leaders you are. And servant leadership was always high on my list. It always came back as, hey, this is just the type of leader that I end up relating
Mm-hmm.
with or wanting to be. Um, but I don't. Part of being a leader is knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, and I think that's part of being a professional too. And one of my and I use the word weakness just as a term of description. Is like, for instance, because of my knee injury, it's hard for me to appropriately demonstrate some movements. I can't always get below parallel when I squat because my range of motion is limited by arthritis and scar tissue. And but I can still use my words. I have one good knee that can hit that range of motion. Um, so it's just being aware. It's knowing that, hey, demonstration it can sometimes be a weakness of mine, so I need to be clearer with my words. um, I need to communicate that expectation, like, hey, this is what an air squat looks like, but when you do it, I expect the hip to be below the knee. Even though my hip's not below my knee, I expect your hip to be below your knee. But it also gives me empathy for those people that also struggle to move because
Yep.
of limitations, whether that's an injury, whether it's just they didn't sleep good. It's always like, hey, maybe that range of motion is just not accessible for you today. That's okay. And it's something that I appreciate because it's something that I deal with.
Yep.
And I do want to say when I say just L1, because we mentioned it a couple times, I really meant that in reference to all of the CrossFit celebrities that have been on your show before. But I absolutely respect the role of a level one. We have level ones in my gym. We have level twos in my gym. We have level threes in my gym. So hopefully one day one or all of us gets to that level four. But a level one can create just as big of an impact. It's just a certificate that hangs on a
Well,
wall. That's really all it comes down to.
to take the ultimate step, I guess, and open an affiliate, your level one is more than enough to
That's all you need.
facilitate that, to do that.
Yep.
So it's a powerful weapon for, and I guess that is almost a good reference for it, is that your level one is a powerful weapon for changing lives, but it's what you do with it from there that matters. So, the people that you would describe as just level one are those that would stay there and turn up, coach. I'm just here to coach for the hour. I'm not going to do anything else, and then go home. Not actively pursuing other opportunities to learn or grow, or it's just easier to revalidate my L1 than to go to L2 because that's uncomfortable. And for you, like, you've talked about those imposter syndrome, which we all suffer with. I'm on those podcasts with those people going, who am I to talk to, Pat Barber? Like, what have I got to, what have I got to say? You know what I mean? Rather
Yep.
than, So I sit there kind of like just let Tony talk for a while, and it took a while to find a voice and start having my input on it rather than just I'm just going to watch the show in front of me. This is amazing,
Yeah.
But having that, getting past that and saying, okay, well, I'm not going to let that stop me from doing the things that are important to me. So for you, for example, like you say that you often wondered, like, who am I to be a coach? As you embark on heading towards your level 2, it'd be very easy to go, well, I got my level 1, I'm coaching, I'm already doing the thing. And it's big and it's scary and it's uncomfortable to be in that position at the L2. So what sort of things do you do for you that let you push past that?
I honestly, when I come into that moment where I'm like, wow, that can be hard, that can be difficult. Um, I still go back to my military service, and I'm like, I have done things way harder than this. I have been in situations much scarier than this.
Mhm.
I have worked with less sleep, with more anxiety. This is really not that bad.
Mm.
And that doesn't fix it all. I mean, you still have doubts and you still have questions, but I think the answer really is just to do it, like just
Mm.
action, like take action. That's kind of like, I think the best thing that people can do is to just take the first step.
Mhm.
Don't suffer the analysis by paralysis. There are still times where I struggle. Like we're still all human. Um,
Mm.
and perfect example. I also have a huge interest in nutrition, especially just doing that class with EC. And we just did a
Mhm.
nutrition challenge in our gym. We did her 800-gram challenge, which was awesome,
Great. Yep, it's
successful.
fantastic. Yep.
And I would love to start helping people with their nutrition. But there's that
Mm.
little voice that's like, do I know enough? Am I really ready to help people with that? Like, do
Mm.
people really want to pay me to help them with that? Like, there's still those little doubts because it's new, it's novel.
Mm. Yep.
I'm very good at managing my own nutrition, but I'm not sure if I'm good enough to possibly help somebody else with theirs. And am I good enough, maybe to give them a piece of free advice, but also
Mm.
accept payment for that kind of service? That's you got to be even better than good enough. So
Mm.
it still creeps in. It's still
Yep.
there, but you just have to take the first step. And I think, and not just a mindless first step, not stepping off blindly, but I
Mm.
think that's again part of being a professional is that preparation.
Yep.
Um, that first step could be, oh, we have a scary class today. I have to teach ring muscle ups, or I have to coach ring muscle ups, or bar muscle ups, or I have to coach a movement that I don't do. Well,
Mm.
the first step would be study your butt off, learn that movement, watch those YouTube videos, seek out those other coaches that do the movements. Maybe say, hey, can you meet me on Saturday before my class and you watch me? Can we go over? So it's just all those little things, all those little
Mm.
steps that you can do to prepare. Taking that action is going to relieve that anxiety so that when you step in front of the class, you've already rehearsed it. And it's
Yep.
almost like it becomes mindless. And that when you get to that stage where you can stand in front of a group and you know what you're going to say, you've practiced it, you've rehearsed it, then you don't think about it as much and you can bring more personality and fun into the
Mm.
class. At least that's what I try to do. Not always successful,
Yeah.
but but I mean
But it's if you can
that's my
relax.
mindset. That's my mindset.
And I think that's a really good segue, because I know that something else that's important to you is leading by example for your family and for kids. And you spoke about that you have aspirations that for your 15-year-old daughter who does CrossFit, that you're going to do your L1, like, even if you never coach, like, this is an important learning foundation and it's going to set you up with skills. But you know, that being able to move to understand that the doubts, the imposter syndrome, the limiting beliefs, and to be able to acknowledge openly we have them, but then to be able to take those steps to push past is amazing role modeling for that next generation of people coming through who
Yeah.
go, oh, well, dad never just sat on his hands because he was too afraid to try. So I'm going to go do that. Like, you see whole generations and families where people are like, well, this is our station. This is where we're at. We aren't meant to be wealthy or lucky or do all these sorts of things. We're always meant to work and work for other people. it's setting that that example that you can do anything if you know, nothing is too big to conquer if you just take that action.
Yeah, I think leadership by example is definitely probably one of the main values
Hmm.
that I try to live by. Never ask anybody to do anything you're not willing to do yourself, whether
Hmm.
it's try a new movement in the gym or whether it's clean the bathroom.
Mm.
If you're not willing to do it, you shouldn't expect somebody else to do it. And I'm really proud of my daughter. She's 15. Her name's Avery, and just this weekend she did Murph with me. Me and her, we did partner Murph. And
Mm.
she also did it last year. We decided to do it as a partner this year, but this is the first year she ran the mile at the beginning and the end.
Yeah,
Um,
boom.
and
That's
so
epic.
she today she was my partner for today's partner wad, and she did
Mm.
her row, she did her wall ball, she did her dumbbell snatches. She's not afraid to get in there with all the adults. Even she's not in the
Mm.
kids class, she's with us, she's in the grown-up
Yep.
class, and she
Mm.
keeps up with us. And that's something that we as a gym are starting to do more and more of, is get the kids involved. We have a young coach, Coach Parker. She's 18 years old and has her L1, and she's in there coaching adults. I mean,
Mhm.
that takes a lot of courage for her to get up in front of grown men and women and
Yep.
give a whiteboard brief and try to give corrections and cues, but she does it. And she also has taken on the kids, and she's coaching little kids. And
Yeah,
so again,
perfect.
it's all leadership by example. And I try to lead by example in the way I coach, by trying to give a good whiteboard brief every time and not phone it in, writing out my
Mm.
lesson plans, taking my daughter to CrossFit with me, doing the workout, showing her that it's okay to scale, showing her that it's okay to do this a little bit differently. And
Mhm.
I joked even today with some friends that I have successfully indoctrinated my daughter, because I was bragging about her doing Murph. And I was like, originally it started like, hey, when you're old enough, you're one.
Mm.
But now it's not even that anymore. Now it's like, well, when I turn 17, I'm going to go to the L1 and I'm going to coach Matt, and
Mm.
I'm going to start being a coach at CrossFit Greenville. Like she's ready to jump in now. Like she really has gotten motivated.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's awesome.
and so I hope that
And
works for
that,
her.
you know, by you being so intentional about that and so, you know, well, this is what we're doing and we're doing it together and, you know, I see the power in this. I want you to experience it. You've changed the trajectory of her future family and what she does with her kids. And, you know, we talk about um, the some of the chronic illnesses like obesity, and you know, leading a you know sedentary life as almost can be hereditary, because if that's all you've known, then that's all you do. If you do, you know, if you do what you do until you know better. But if they don't know better and have never been shown a way, so that ripple effect is really gonna go on for years beyond, you know, you and I walking on this the surface of the earth, really. That, you know, that positive change has gone through if they continue that through, as you know, she branches out to having her own life and own family, and will impact the relationships she chooses to have in her life with friends and partners, because she's developed this core set of values now. And it's like, hanging out and partying and doing, you know, the drugs and running amok. I don't feel good about doing that because then I can't CrossFit on Saturday because I feel like crap. So probably you're not the people I need to be hanging around with. And it really sets her up for a good, solid, successful launch pad into life.
Yeah, and my wife and I have noticed also, like aside from just being physically fit,
Hmm.
CrossFit has done wonders for her self image and her
Hmm.
confidence. So her
Yeah.
mental fitness is also there. And it's
Yeah.
also that not being afraid to do hard things.
Yeah.
Going into a gym and doing some of that stuff is hard. It's difficult.
Mm.
And she can be a perfectionist at times, but she goes in there and it has not only helped her physically, but it's helped her mentally as well. And
Mm.
that's me too. Going to the
Yeah.
gym for me, and if anybody that suffers from real mental health issues needs to actually go to a mental health professional. But the gym for me is sometimes my outlet.
Mm.
My therapy. Like go if I haven't been to the gym in a day or two, I notice it.
Yep.
And so it's definitely something that makes me mentally feel
Mm.
fitter, and
Yeah.
not just physically fit.
And it's that resilience. And so many times, particularly with girls of her age, you know, body image is a big deal. It's a massive, massive deal. And I remember when I owned my affiliate, we had a teen train with us who really, in her age group, she was probably the tallest of all the girls, and she was not overweight by any stretch of the imagination, but she had a more solid frame than her friends who were, more, I guess, petite. But through training and celebrating her strength, she got the confidence that she was happy to rock a bikini with the rest of the girls when they went, to the beach or the pool. And it really changed the way that she viewed her body, as in, I'm big, so I'm different, but I'm actually strong, and embracing that and seeing strength in that, not wanting to, hide herself away because she didn't mix with or meet or have the aesthetic of the other girls. So it's a very powerful thing when, that's when girls are most vulnerable to, and boys as well. They just don't admit it, but having those body image issues, which can then lead to eating disorders, and she's getting that solid foundation of recognizing her strengths and being proud of, what she's doing in herself, and a good solid foundation in, yeah, I need to eat. I can eat. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
we recently, she recently jumped into her first social media platform. And at first, we were the parents that wanted to hold off a little bit.
Mm,
And she finally jumped in, and she loves posting her CrossFit information, her
mm,
scores and all that. And at first I was worried, but then I noticed when looking at like who her followers were, like her followers are like everybody from CrossFit, like all these
yeah.
other, like moms and dads. I'm like, I'm not worried anymore,
Mm.
because she's got all these friends keeping an eye on her, and they're
People
that's
will just
who she's
self-select
connecting
out.
with. That's her community,
Yeah, that's right.
and it makes me feel better about it.
And people who then jump into that, but their values don't necessarily align, they're going to self-select out because they're like, I don't belong in this group, and they're going to go, oh, I'm out. I'm the odd man out, and they out, so you get less of that. Excuse me, that negative impact and that sway on it. So I think that's something powerful, and I'm super super impressed by her tackling Murph, especially that mile run at the beginning and the end, and getting through that. And you are doing amazing things in that space, with her and for your family. So that's epic. um so if we're talking about, we've got, this podcast is aimed towards coaches, and also encouraging people that coaching is something that you can follow as a career. And I understand that you're not doing it full time, but it's something that, you don't have to think you fit a particular aesthetic or a experience level, or, be, a, a varsity level athlete or anything like that to be able to do this. If someone's listening to this, and, we have quite a few listeners who are, thinking about getting their L1 or want to dip their toe into coaching. What is your advice for someone who thinks, oh, I think I'd like this coaching thing, but I don't think I could be a coach? What sort of advice do you have, that they can take away from this today?
Well, I would suggest to them that, going to the L1 doesn't mean you have to coach. Lots of people go to the L1 and never coach. So that could be just like, if you want to dip your
Mm,
toe in, it's definitely worth it, whether you decide to coach or not. If you think that you absolutely want to coach, talk to your box owner, talk
mm,
to, or go visit a CrossFit gym and just drop in, get that exposure.
mm,
If you are already a member at a gym, some gym owners are more than willing to say, hey, you can start doing like an internship now before
mm,
you go to your L1 and see if this is really something you want to do. Get that experience. But again, it's all about taking action. Um,
mm,
you you have to kind of face those fears sometimes, and really just say, do I want to do this or not? I'm not sure. Well, what would step one be? And step one would be try it,
mm,
take a step. And I think that's really what people need to do is just really take that first step,
mm.
embrace the fear. And if it's not for you, guess what? That's okay. But you tried it, and
Yeah.
now you know. Now the doubt can
Mm,
be gone because you tried it and it just wasn't for you. Or maybe you tried it and it's just not for you yet. But
mm,
after you hang around for another year or two, maybe it will be for you then. Maybe it's just not your time.
mm.
But you won't know if you don't try.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
And I think that is, really, a solid piece of advice. You really do strike me as someone who definitely is not going to go through life and at the end die wondering what if for anything. You're just gonna give it a crack and give it a whirl. And I think that is a super admirable quality. I mean, even jumping on this podcast, I know you were like, "Are you really sure you want to talk to me? Did you send this to the right?" I said, "Yeah, like we're gonna get on and have a chat." And it was a bit daunting and intimidating because you've not done it before. And I know, like, the first time I hosted the podcast, I was like, I don't know, I'm just the chief button pusher. And, now, it's kind of just what I do, and I love it. But, and I love being able to bring people on the podcast to just sit down and have a chat about your life and experiences, because whilst we're our own worst critics, someone out there listening to this is going to go, well, that Justin, I'm a bit like him. Like, if he can do it, I can do it. So, I think your story and your experiences and your perspectives form a great basis to give someone some inspiration to actually, go out and try something. Just do it. Like, you don't have to sell the farm and go all in, but you can try it. And, there are ways to dip your toe in, and then you just never know where it's going to lead you. I'm quite sure the first time you walked into the CrossFit box and started working out that you really thought it would wind you up, at the point you are now.
Yeah, and there's a story, and I can't remember who I heard it from, or an example, I should say, for that person that thinks they want to try CrossFit or try coaching, but they're just like, I'm not the best athlete. I'm not. I don't have this ability. I don't think that and I'm not the best athlete. But I don't want to miscredit it, but I think it might have been Ben Bergeron who I heard it from. But he was talking about how Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player. I don't want to start a debate here, but Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player.
There's no debate.
But he still had a coach. And if Phil Jackson played Michael Jordan one-on-one, would he be able to beat Michael Jordan? No, but he could still coach him.
Yeah. And that's, I used to, clearly, I'm not built like a traditional coach. And, but I would often, say to people, well, Tiger Woods' coach cannot beat him he might beat him on 1 or 2 holes, but not going to beat him over 18 holes consistently. But he can help Tiger beat every other player in the world. So, the world needs coaches because it's having that external perspective. We're very good, and we were just talking about this on the earlier podcast about, as humans, we're really good at self-medicating and telling ourselves things that comfort us and make us feel better and avoid that discomfort. But sometimes we need that external perspective to go, I know you're not squatting to depth, and I know you find it uncomfortable, so let's work on it together. Versus, and why is it uncomfortable to you is the more important question. Let's work through that rather than just, you doing what makes you comfortable and you're doing quarter squats for the rest of your life and wondering why you can't get out of a chair when you're 80. So, I think your perspective has been really refreshing, and, you're just as much on my highlight reel of guests as any of the celebrity coaches, because I've really enjoyed your perspective and keeping it, and these are the stories that we want to tell. We want to get out of, the coaches who, are out there doing the good work, like being role models, paying it forward, being of service, and continually striving to be professional coaches. And they're the stories we want to tell, and not feeling like you have to, wear a red shirt or have a name or a brand before, with a product to sell before, we'll talk to you. That's definitely not what we're about at Fitfiliate, for sure. And, we just love sharing the story. So thank you today for your time and for sharing, this part of your story with us. I've enjoyed the chat, and I am definitely sure we're going to get you back on for another chat with the whole team.
Oh, awesome. It was fun. Anytime. I'd be happy to.
So I told you it would be painless. I told you it'd be fine.
Mostly painless. No, it was definitely all painless. Good. No pain involved.
All right, Justin, we will catch you on the next one, mate.
All right. Thank you very much.